Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Best Darn Diddly Review Show. This is a weekly podcast for anyone who loves The Simpsons or ever has loved The Simpsons, hosted by two dudes that grew up on The Simpsons. My name is Miles, better known as Mr. Most Days Off, and today we've got a weird, but in my opinion, very dope episode to talk about. We got some weird coincidences going back to last week's conversation about IMDb that I'm excited to talk about as well. We've got a returning guest. That's an understatement. We've got the continuation of the streak, ladies and gentlemen. This man reproduced with a woman, and he still had time to make the show. It's great. But before we get to him, of course, joining me as always, your co-host with the most, Richie the Whiz Kid. How you doing today, Rich?
You make it sound like getting someone pregnant is just like a quick little afternoon job where the baby seems to be coming at the same amount of time. So I'm glad. I'm sure our guest will have something to say about that and more. But yeah, I'm interested to see what everyone thinks about this episode because I feel like we might all have different viewpoints on this one. I don't know. So we haven't talked much about
trilogy of bad reviews, basically.
Of reviews. So let me go ahead and throw it back to you so we can get going. The man, the myth, the Tijuana toilet cracker himself. It is Miles.
Dude, maybe after all the beer I drank this weekend, actually, that might be very, very true. But guys, coming back to the show for, I don't know, he's been for at least once every season we had. I don't remember if that count. Well, I don't remember if we counted. Did you actually come back for like 1 and 2 when we were doing the, oh yeah, because there were just episodes at the time. Yeah, you've been on for, this is your 12th time on the show at least. Welcome back.
I keep making the same terrible decision
over and over again. Welcome back, Dr. Andrew Briseño. How are you today, Andy?
Oh man, just living the fabulous life of a TV magic queer, making things happen over here.
I knew we were going to talk about that for sure. I will say I heard that the first time and I was like, oh, I must have just misheard that. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, no, we just dropped that. And it is a fun reminder sometimes watching this show of The Simpsons, which has always felt relatively progressive most of its life, with obvious exceptions. But it's always a fun reminder of how not that long ago, just the whole vernacular was just different.
Yeah, well, no, I was like, oh man, thank you. That's the moment I needed tonight.
Well, yeah, and I mean, as somebody, as part of the demographic that should be most offended, an aspiring magician, I really took it to heart.
Man, Andy, this is going to be a good one.
That's all.
Yeah, good take. Andy, dude, honestly, it's so cool to have you back. It's been a while now because we're at the tail end of season 12. I don't remember when you were on for season 11, but I know it's been a long time. You had a kid, sir. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I know, man.
You literally fucked up our schedule because you had to have a kid during our podcast. But, like, I'm not bitter at all.
To be fair, nobody thought you assholes would still be doing this for this long. Like, I mean, like,
no one less than you, by the way. I constantly question, like, are you really still doing that?
The second time, if you want to be honest, I was like, you're still doing that. Wow. Okay, way to go. Like, yeah. So it's not my fault. You guys are stubborn as fuck. We can't blame the Simpsons here. Like,
it's not fortitude and willingness to go forward. It's just the lack of adapting and change.
Yeah, just
100%.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's reasonable. We're all here for that on every level. But yes, my daughter Ramona Ruth Allen Briseño was born this March, and she's freaking amazing. I don't know if anybody ever lets you know this, but babies are a lot like a Gwar concert, if you want to be honest. Like, okay, you're going to get sprayed in all kinds of bodily fluids. That's a fact. And you can either enjoy, like, say this is part of the fun, or you go, and try and, like, leave. But, like, for real, like, I'm just learning to accept the fact that I get micturated upon about every other day at this point. It already happened once today. Like, I'm proud to say. I was giving her a bath, and then, like, I got her out of the bath, and I'm drying her off in her little baby towel. Like, oh, you're so cute. Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
You make parenting sound really metal.
Oh, it's just gross. Like, and I mean, like, you know, you can either lean into that or pretend that it doesn't happen.
Well, I don't know if in your situation you want to be leaning into anything, but you know, I guess that's
I mean, you know,
dude, I remember vividly. I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews, and like when my like oldest nephew now was like a little tiny thing in a car seat or whatever. I remember when I got to experience what a blowout was for the first time. And that was just like, I'm like, get me out of this fucking car. And like, again, I'm an uncle. I have never changed a diaper in my life. I got as far away from that literal shitstorm as possible and just like waited. But I mean, we're talking, this kid's wearing a onesie and somehow shit is just like squeezing out of it as if it's a Play-Doh fun factory.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
much like our podcast.
Where is this coming from? That's the metaphor of the night right there.
No doubt. Analogy. No, my sister has a kid who's like a month older than ours, and a friend of ours had a kid who's a month younger. And so we're pretty much swapping back pictures of poop of the week. I don't know what you win for getting poop of the week. I think you more lose the most. But like, I'm
not going to name them, but 100% real. I know a lesbian couple that they like send each other pictures of their poop, and it's like the weirdest thing. Like they're always just like, who got the best shit this week? Anyway, that felt relevant there.
Sure. Right on. Anyway.
Andy, just remember that diarrhea is hereditary now. It runs in your genes.
Okay, that's fair. Dude, the poop of this week was extreme. My daughter
Does Danny not get dad jokes? Wait, has his gloss right over him?
Dude, like the poop of the week was so extreme. My daughter managed to shit in her own belly button, and she's an outie.
Oh,
that's impressive, dude. All right, so other than wiping up baby goo, have you been up to anything else new?
No,
you still
absolutely nothing except baby. Oh yeah,
okay.
I do still have a job. That is, they haven't gotten rid of me yet. Despite the best efforts of some, I am still gainfully employed. Proud to say. And that's going really well. We're enjoying the crap out of that. And of course, you can
the crap out of way to call back there.
And well, you know, that's what I'm all about there. You can also still enjoy my fabulous novel, Down and Out, available from Goldweight Press on whatever website you like to buy books from, probably. Anyways, it's a fabulous novel about reality television and small town Arkansas. It doesn't include one single poop joke. So, you know, like, I don't know whether that's like an ooh or an eh for you and your audience, but like, you know, in fairness. However, Miles is in it. So think about that.
Yeah. Next,
clearly, or else there would be poop jokes within it.
If nothing else,
I probably
really
just killed my 3 sales, but that's okay.
I just found my copy of your book last weekend that I've still yet to get to read because I let somebody borrow it when you first gave it to me when they were going on a trip, and they had been hiding it from me until last week where I go, I'm going to take this back. Oh, no, I'm not done yet. I said, you've had it long enough.
To be clear, that made it sound like it was me, I feel like. That was definitely your mom, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That felt like very targeted, but I think it's just because she can hear you right now.
Well, no, I was just trying to not use people's names or their likenesses. You know, the South Park intro.
Fair. Buy Andy's book. He needs money for diapers.
Yeah.
So
every copy you buy buys 1.3 diapers.
Otherwise, he's gonna have to resort to like using the book pages to like makeshift his own diapers.
Man,
and
like, yeah,
that's some next level shit. It's
not really
right there.
Effective. It's not really that absorbent, if you want to be honest about it.
Yeah, if you're buying it because you ran out of toilet paper, you're making a poor choice. But if you just want some entertaining reading, yeah. Very, very cool. Dude, all right. I'm excited to have you on this week. It's not the episode you wanted to be a part of because, again, you fucked up the schedule by having a baby.
Yeah, but that stupid baby.
I thought you ended up with a pretty good episode, Trilogy of Error. I'm starting to think, the Trilogy of Error. I'm starting to think
possibly
based on
go
your
wrong.
Previous comments that you might not agree with that statement.
I mean, I definitely see that, like, this feels like, yeah, we've crested the hill, we've come down the fun part of the roller coaster, and like we're deciding whether or not we're going to get up to that next hill. And I feel like instead we're going to slide back down into the trough. Is the way that I see it.
And you're talking about the arc of The Simpsons in general.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. There's still some funny jokes. I still laughed a couple of times. But, like, yeah, I don't know. Like, it felt like they were trying really hard and that, like, the end result was sort of not funny.
Okay. Interesting.
Maybe I'm supposed, like, you know, we can do this again and I can pretend I loved it real quick if you want.
No, I love it.
That's the fucking best episode of all time, man. Fuck.
No, dude. Honestly, I'm glad
Run
you have this take. I'm before I reveal what I want to reveal, because it ties into this IMDb thing from last week that I want to talk about anyway. Richie, short review. We're obviously going to review the whole episode still, because that's what we do here. But just like on the short, do you agree with Andy that it's kind of a subpar episode, or do you agree with me that this one is like showing it's back on its course?
I don't think it's back on its course. I told you guys I felt like we're going to have 3 different reviews. I feel my typical middle of the road kind of stuff here. I remember as a kid, I didn't like the episode on the first viewing because I don't like seeing repeated scenes. And every time I saw Flanders' mailbox getting taken away, I was like, okay, we already know this stuff. You're literally going to Lisa's point of view when she was with Homer for like the first 2 minutes or 30 seconds. Like I that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I wanted one of those Homer Bart's romp through some random disaster thing that, you know, I could go either way with right now, even though we all know we still love it. On rewatches back when I was younger, becoming a young man, I felt like it was better, a lot better. I feel like it has some of the most classic lines of recent memory in episodes, especially with the Dr. Nick stuff and some of the lingo stuff. But watching it this time, I felt like it was missing something. And because I felt so like back and forth about this, I, for like the first time in a long time, looked up the IMDb rating on this. So I was a little bit shocked, honestly, like, especially with some of the details involved with that rating and what it means, you know, for the future of The Simpsons. So I know that's called a tease, Miles. We'll save that for later. But yeah, I was kind of middle of the road. I was a little back and forth. There's stuff I really liked, and there's stuff where I'm like, it's still from like 3 weeks ago, man. I feel like maybe we've reached the turning point in season 12, around episode 14 or 15, whatever episode that the
Bye nerdy. Yeah. Okay. So that ties in so perfectly to what I want to talk about from IMDb, actually. So Andy, let me catch you up on something real quick. We recently reviewed the episode Bye Bye Nerdy, which we just spoke of. That for me was the first episode. That's the first time on this podcast that I was publicly like, I didn't really think that episode was very good. Like everyone up to that point, there's at least a reason to like it. Something about Bye Bye Nerdy just rubbed me the wrong way. Just rubbed me right. But we got to talking about like the IMDb ratings because it was just kind of interesting. The Bye Bye Nerdy is noticeably the lowest rated episode on IMDb at a 6.7, but Simpson Safari, which Richie and I both like considerably better, is only rated a 6.9. So it's not like a really significant jump. That got me to looking at this episode, Trilogy of Error, which has an 8.6. And the very first trivia thing that I just thought was really interesting is this episode has the highest IMDb rating since the season 9 premiere, which was City of New York versus Homer Simpson. And as of at least August 2021, and I'm willing to bet beyond, it's still the highest rated episode of The Simpsons after every one that's come since.
Yeah, and like that's daunting to think about that. That is daunting. Like that, and it worries me a little bit, honestly, because of how I felt going into this episode. I would have never guessed this thing would be even really above an 8.
No, it's noticeably talked about, and I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because it made me crack up so much. The commentary for this one featured the writer of this episode, Matt Selman, Al Jean, Tim Long, Mike Scully, Ian Maxstone Graham, Mike Anderson, Max Cross, Rob Lipsenick, and my personal favorite showrunner, David Merkin, was on this one, which I do honestly think skewed my enjoyment level. I won't lie, because I just love that dude's commentary. He always cracks me up. But they did actually, it was Merkin himself, when they were talking about that very point, about how this was the highest rated episode on The Simpsons, and it's highly beloved by a lot of people. They were talking about how they actually saw that on the internet, and Merkin was like, yeah, good thing fans don't really like nitpicking episodes anyway. And it just touched me, man. He made a joke that was for us that he didn't even know was for us 14 years before he started. But that just moved me.
Into a bigger hat. Oh, wait, no, it didn't.
I guess
Andy hasn't said a word yet since he learned the score of this episode.
Honestly, I was going to say that because I didn't think it seemed like you guys thought that was as interesting as I did, because I thought that was really funny, especially after we talked so much about the IMDb ratings last time, that's the most notable trivia for this episode.
Is that it is highly beloved. I feel like it's so
highly rated.
Schooly. Yeah, it's so film schooly is the thing about this, right? You have the direct run Lola run lift, and that's a hellish film school movie, right?
Yep. So and sorry, I was going to say it's everybody always says "Run Lola Run," and this episode was even originally titled "Go Lisa Go," and there are obviously "Run Lola Run" references throughout it, but it's actually far more based on the movie Go, which came out after Run Lola Run. It was Matt Selman saw both Run Lola Run and the movie Go, and he just thought that was such a really fun storytelling mechanic, and he straight up said he thought he could do a better job of it in a Simpsons episode. So he had that pitch originally, and basically he knew that if he's I want to do the Simpsons but the movie Go, everybody's going to laugh him out of the room, and not in the good way. So he actually wrote out the vast majority of this script as the pitch for the episode, which is not the normal way they go about pitching episodes. And it was almost exactly the same as it was with the pitch. The biggest difference was originally Lisa actually went to her day was that she accidentally got on the short bus instead of the regular bus. And that went exactly how you would expect it to in 2001 when they still openly used the word queer. So it probably wasn't going to be a great move. And that's why it was changed to West Springfield.
That really makes me wonder what they were going to do with the whole love interest thing. They could have actually done some interesting work there, but instead it turns out there's a West Springfield that you never knew existed and that hasn't come up ever fucking before. And there's this rival elementary school over there. We've not,
but instead they're going to rival with Shelbyville. Yeah,
they're probably the Bearcats.
West Springfield. I was fucking furious. What dumb shit is that?
Andy, a wizard did it.
I respect that a fucking monkey was driving, and that that's gonna make some interesting things happen. Sure, that's fine, right? But everything else about that was ridiculous. Also, why are they learning French at West Springfield Elementary? That's not the magnet school. Why do they have French immersion programs? I'm deeply.
See, you're worried about all that,
because Frankie Muniz goes there. They're gonna get special treatment.
You're worried about all that, but you're not worried about seeing the story from the point of the view of the monkey when it's a story about Lisa, and we missed this whole conversation with Lisa and Krusty while we're watching actually Mr. Teeny's day for a few moments, which that's the note I wrote down 3 or 4 times where I was upset that I was watching characters who they didn't say that was their day.
But interesting. Yeah, little side tangents for a moment.
Yeah, but it had to make
their perspective. No, that makes sense.
We had to see how Dr. Nick's hospital blew up. We had to.
So one more thing, and then let's get into the script. Richie, you brought up the fact that you really didn't like seeing the repeated jokes and things of that nature. And they actually do address that in the commentary as well, because there was actually a ton of debate in the writer's room about essentially how much should we hold the audience's hand to kind of set up this premise. And there was talk specifically of how many jokes should they repeat. And of course, the fear is if you repeat the joke, it's not going to get as big of a laugh each time you hear it. But then you have to cross that with, do we understand what we're trying to do from a storytelling perspective, which to Andy's credit is gives it that kind of film school concept because it's literally like a bunch of people who have essentially never made this type of film, or a film school student, if you will, are trying to make that same premise happen in 23 minutes.
Well, go Simpson, go.
I just feel like the way to do that is to like return to iterations of the same moment. Like the first time we see them pull out Flanders' mailbox and we see Flanders say something. The second time, maybe we see the mailbox come out, but we see the fucking joke from the garbage man's perspective. Right? But they don't do that. They do the exact same
more animation
joke 3 times. And like, I really think that like they didn't work enough on the original setup because it's not funny. Like we're eating shitty cereal. Okay.
Maggie being stuck to the cereal was funny to me.
Dude, honestly,
Maggie,
and Homer,
Maggie Maggie being like attacked by the alien was outstanding. I didn't mind Homer's line, but like
Homer's line was brilliant, dude. I love that. Yeah, no, it's because I hate your shitty breakfast, Marge.
It wasn't hear it twice brilliant. It was good.
That one I'll disagree with you hard on. That was a great joke for a repeat.
I just feel like, again, like there's an opportunity to do a different version of that joke, right? Like to like focus in on Marge in some way in this moment. You know where I'm coming from? And like give me like an iteration. That's what makes Run Lola Run fucking fun, is that every time you notice that they're actually not exactly the same, that subtle things have changed, right? That like you become super engaged in watching the background for these subtle little differences and shit. And none of that's here. It's just kind of like, like, I don't know. It's,
in a weird way,
it was connects. Just,
That's the reason I like that Jet Li movie Hero, where it's different versions of different stories, but they color coordinate the backgrounds to fit it. That's a really like random tangent, but that's like the exact reason I love it. It's because when someone else is telling the story, they vision things differently.
That's interesting. I feel like they could have done something too with like the mob, like maybe reveal the like presence of the mob through each of their perspective. Because like Lisa seeing the mob with firecrackers is going to be way different than Bart seeing the mob with firecrackers is going to be way different than Homer seeing the mob, or maybe similar to that one. But you know what I mean? They'll all have a unique perspective of what's happening, and they could have kind of pieced together that act and not spoon fed it to us as much as they ended up doing, where they essentially just force it, at the very end. But I think that could have been interesting. That definitely is an argument I'm willing to hear. And I think that even based on the commentary, that you could tell that I don't think that they were 100% confident that they got the perfect balance of, again, I called it spoon feeding earlier, but just, how much do you show the audience? How much do you give away? How much do you make the audience piece together for themselves? Also considering you're having to, present that for a very large demographic at this point in time, because The Simpsons was watched by everybody in this era in terms of age range.
Okay. Weird side tangent of no value that I'm going to spend at least 2 minutes of your life on. Richie,
disconnect.
Got a question.
We're having a spike in listeners. Oh no, it's a drop. Excuse me. I'm just
well, it's something. It's weird. Anyways, if you were going to go get plastered drunk, would you go to the bar close to your house or the bar across town?
I'd go to the bar close to my house.
Close ups, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
wait. Unless I had a DD, but
cheaper lift ride on the way home.
Now, when Lisa leaves West Springfield Elementary, she runs almost immediately to Moe's fucking Tavern.
You're talking about how she goes out the back door instead of the front door?
Yeah, well, what I'm talking about is that Moe's Tavern seems to be within a block of West Springfield Elementary. Homer drinks at Moe's Tavern, which says that either Homer is driving all the way across town to get to this bar, or that the Simpsons are for some reason being bused across town to go to the opposite elementary school. I don't know.
Or counterpoints, Lisa is just the fastest runner on Earth.
I mean, we can clearly, clock her speed, assuming a standard size of a building. I think Lisa's height.
We don't know how long.
Are we gonna Matt Pat this right now?
We don't know how long Lisa was running. I'm pretty sure we could
if we needed to. I'm pretty sure Lisa's height is canonically established, and then we can use that to, determine that her running speed is actually adorably slow.
But we also know that she's super smart, especially for her age. So she would know how to get the maximum output in her running without breaking pace. And therefore,
Bitch, you know nothing of nerds.
Sustain a longer.
I gotta tell you, man. I am and was real damn smart, and it had nothing to do with maximum physical output. Like I still can't throw a ball. What are you even talking about?
Lisa played hockey. She built up those muscles.
Okay, I feel like we've derailed into just
wait, hold up, no, we're not derailed enough yet. You've got a problem with that, but you don't have a problem with Lisa leaving the back door at Moe's instead of the front door, just to make storytelling standpoint. You don't have a problem with the fact that Martin is pecking at Lisa from the back of the school bus, but
I have a lot of problems with that. Actually, what is his,
the whole science
what is his
takes place
sphere
in
plugged into? That thing definitely needs AC power to run.
But we only see the second grade
classroom.
Yeah,
I'm sure glad that Simpsons fans don't like to nitpick these episodes.
We only see the second grade classroom.
You guys are annoying me, and I'm the host of this fucking podcast.
Martin's not even in that class.
I love the Martin scene. That shit cracks me up.
But they declare Lisa
that was top 5 jokes of the episode for me. It was Martin's hair. If you want to be honest, he looked like the musically themed Bowser child, and I liked that.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can see
Ludwig
that.
von Koopa, for those of you who are like screaming that at your,
That's where all his brain capacity went for like sustaining runability through a long distance. It went to Bowser's child.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. So, how about we talk about this episode?
Oh.
Let's break it.
Wait, we're not done yet?
Yeah, we're just getting started somehow. No, we're good. I want to make sure that we get our usual stuff in. This episode is titled Trilogy of Error. It originally aired on April 29th in the year 2001. The chalk gag is "Fire's not the cleanser." All right.
That's not true, by the way. Fire is definitely the cleanser. Go ahead.
The couch gag, we see the Simpsons come in and skateboard. They all hit a ramp and like flip, land on the couch. Of course, Homer doesn't make it.
But that skateboard hitting his head, that sound is so beautiful. Like that thwack that hits his head is like might be the best part of the episode. I don't know, maybe.
Merkin on the commentary again. I love David Merkin so much, but he on the commentary said during this scene, it's like, why do you guys always use the ones where Homer fucks up something or messes up something? I don't know. It made me laugh. This is where we pretty much open up. I think we first open up on Ned Flanders' mailbox thing that we talked about. Basically, the garbage man just for whatever reason just grabs Flanders' whole mailbox and throws it in the back of the truck. Yeah.
Why is he watching the garbage man too?
Yeah, that is weird. Actually,
I thought of that. He's got some vendetta against the garbage man, which is why the garbage man took his mailbox. Like, see, there's all these stories we don't know.
Yeah, his mailbox was uprooted last week, and he had a suspicion, and then he was like, well, what was I actually going to do about this? I had no plan.
Write a very wordy letter to his boss.
In some ways, this one does give me like 22 scenes in Springfield vibes, but like I won't say it's as well executed.
It is not.
Right. We start with that breakfast we already talked about. So we've covered a few of these things pretty well. It's a healthy cereal from Europe. Everybody hates it. Even the dog doesn't want it. And at some point during this opening scene, we see a screen cap that pops up and is like Homer's Day. And that is directly out of the movie Go, which is actually a movie that I enjoyed. It came out in 1999, and it was essentially about 3 people that go to a rave and all sorts of shit goes crazy. As a 13-year-old, it seemed like, or 14-year-old at the time, it seemed like a great movie. So, I was into it. And I did get that vibe more than the Run Lola Run personally.
Fair, I've never seen Go, so
yeah, I haven't either.
It could be like a scene for scene steal, and I'd be missing it.
Since we are talking IMDb rating so much, Go's got a 7.2 out of 10, listed as a comedy crime drama. So take that for what it is.
Got a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything. To be fair, Run Lola Run is a crime drama thriller. So I mean, like they're in the same Go.
Okay, I mean, all of those things happen. There is crime, there is drama. It is thrilling. Yeah,
I get it. Yeah,
I saw a movie last night called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and it proved
I
want to
see
all these things off.
I'm really looking forward to that. I have a deep place in my heart for Saint Nicolas Cage. And
it's going to make you like Pedro Pascal a lot more too.
Interesting.
Okay. I don't know who that is, but I'm fine with this.
Okay. You probably do when you recognize him, yeah. Oh yeah, actually, weren't you just talking about you don't have any right to speak of nerds or something like that, and you don't know who that is?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not.
You're not the fun kind of nerd. We understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Yeah. Wow, that was so much funnier than I was going to come up with. You win. You just win. You're right. I'm not the fun kind of nerd. Let's move to the next question.
This is where we meet Linguo, who is the fun kind of nerd. He's a grammar robot.
No, that's the exact kind of nerd I am. Wait.
You do love beer as well. Actually, you are the one that introduced me to IPA. Actually, so you actually I think owe me a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Anyway, Homer is testing the robot. He says, "Me love beer." Lingo responds with a correction of "I love beer," and immediately Homer has a friend. He starts pouring beer down his throat. Of course, Lisa does not approve of that. As Homer thought it was a party robot.
I was trying to figure out each time it said error what it was saying on Linguo's chest, because I feel like in the first
there was a series of numbers.
It was a series of numbers like 418071 or something like that, and I was trying to flip it upside down and see if it spelled anything. But then, at the end of the episode, it just says error on his chest. So I was hoping that IMDb had the answer, and they did not.
Yeah, I didn't see anything on that. Homer doesn't see him, but he does catch a smell of Marge's brownies in the kitchen, so he hovers over to them. Marge is cutting them into squares, and Homer is literally trying to grab one away from Marge. And of course, that's how we get the main driving of our suspense for this episode, is that Homer accidentally Marge accidentally cuts Homer's thumb off, because Homer is being an idiot, to be fair.
Yeah, but also, how fucking sharp are your goddamn kitchen knives, Marjorie Simpson? We need to have a conversation. Well,
she's not doing anything else in this episode, so she has time to sharpen knives.
I am just saying, man. That is some samurai sword, lightsaber style nonsense.
Yeah, especially with how easy it was going. Yeah.
Either you are stabbing those brownies with the force of 1,000 suns, or
she does have a lot of pent up rage.
That is fair. Anyways, I'm more terrified of Marge Simpson the more I learn about her. If you want to be honest, Think of that's some serious damage she did on accident. I got to tell you, because as someone who has totally stabbed someone who was poking something they were working with a finger, I got to say there's nothing on accident about this.
Yeah, no, it seems pretty intense. And since we're talking,
are we going to gloss over the fact that Andy was just saying for somebody who stabbed somebody? It's just, were you talking about Marge, Andy, or is there a personal story you have here?
Oh, I mean, I was working at a restaurant one time with my brother, actually, and I don't know if you guys have ever done restaurant work where you have the POS and you have to type in your number, right, to start putting in an order, right? So I'm trying to type in my number, and my brother is sitting there, and every time I'm he'd stick in there and hit the cancel button, right? And I had been waiting tables a month, and I was super in the weeds, and also my family and whatever. So, anyways, I get out a ballpoint pen in my left hand, and I'm like, Al, I'm gonna do it if you do it. And I go, and he goes, and I go, and then he's got this pen sticking out of his hand, and he's like, I guess I got to go tell the manager I did this to myself.
And that noise you hear in the background are sirens showing up at Dr. Andrew Briseño's house now.
To his credit, Al absolutely went in there and said, I stabbed myself with a pen. Please give me a Band-Aid. And they're like, you stabbed yourself with a pen? I stabbed myself with a pen. I'm just saying.
That's good. That's a good brother, honestly. It's not like he didn't have it coming.
No, exactly. That is a man who'd owned that he had put himself into the situation, and I respect it.
30 years from now, they're going to release the whatever's after Netflix special, the behind the diddly, we have confession tapes. There's going to be a whole episode about this Andy guy.
That would be cool, because that would be probably the most driven our podcast viewership would ever be. So cool. I knew we should have just done true crime to begin with, honestly. Anyway.
It's not too late. I can go kill a motherfucker right now. We could talk about
dude.
it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about that, Miles, but sorry doesn't put thumbs.
I'm not actually
on the hand.
Kill anybody. That's a joke.
Thank you for clarifying. People are really concerned.
Well, you never know.
You're right, though, Richie. Sorry doesn't put thumbs back on hands. Marge tries to bandage up Homer's hand and get him to the hospital, but Santa's little helper ends up grabbing it, is what I'm trying to say. Homer's like, don't worry, Santa's little helper. I'm not going to tackle you, and then misses, which is great. Marge calls 911 because she's responsible, and I love Wiggum. Wow, this better be good.
Cut off my husband's thumb.
Attempted murder. You'll burn for this. Burn in jail.
It was an accident.
Yeah. Save it for Dateline Tuesday. What's your address so I can come and arrest you?
Arrest me? My address is 123 Fake Street.
Homer is meanwhile in the backyard trying to bargain with Santa's little helper, offering people food. I can give you people food. And we see Ned starts reading a story to Todd.
He says, I have nothing he wants, which is funny because he literally has a piece of Homer in his mouth.
Right, that's true, yeah.
That Jurassic Park line ripoff.
We cut over to the Flanders for a moment where Ned's reading Harry Potter and all his wizard friends went straight to hell for practicing witchcraft.
Yay!
Then they burn it.
They
just
burn
in
it.
case.
Yeah. After basically, I think it's like Homer like strangles the dog, and the thumb ends up flying into Rod's electric chain. And we basically got like the Dudley Do-Right situation with Homer's thumb being the damsel in distress and it being a toy train. And it's I forget even what happens here. Does it hit?
Homer stomps the train right before it hits the thumb.
There you go.
Flattens it. Is it
They put it on ice, his thumb, not the train. They put the thumb on ice and they rush to the hospital. Marge drives them over to Dr. Hibbert.
Okay,
let's just say that Bart did it.
Okay, if the doctor asks why you cut it off, you caught me in bed with 4 beautiful women.
Yeah. And that's when Marge is like, let's just say that Bart did it. So again, I think I already said this, but Marge, like they knew that Marge was kind of noticeably missing a story in this episode. So they actually were like aware of that fact. And that's why she does some pretty dope things in this episode, such as technically steal a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's at Homer's insistence, though. Like Homer's
she's still the one that does it, though.
Because Homer's in the passenger seat because he can't drive because he's missing a thumb. Because sorry, he doesn't put thumbs back on hands.
Yeah, I don't know. If I had a chance to drive a Ferrari, I think I could do it with 9 fingers for what it's worth.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I'd make it work. Yeah. If you want to get technical about it,
I guess. No, it'd be 7 if you're Homer.
Yeah. So,
Ring of Wolfcaster is 9 fingers. I'm deciding no. Actually,
you don't think so?
Well,
I think.
Hold up. Like, what if the missing finger was your thumb?
I mean, you could even make it a pinky, and I feel like I could totally maybe I'm just a greater wuss than all of you, but like I am like I don't even think I'm walking. I'm like fuck you, paramedics, pick me up and carry me. Let's go. I'm not even walking to the ambulance. Yes, it is on my hand.
That's fair. How are you? You can't hitchhike though, so that's out of the question.
That one got me. That shit got me. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like, okay.
So they steal Rainier Wolfcastle's car and make it to Dr. Hibbert, who tells them, "I'm sorry, Homer, but your HMO doesn't cover this type of injury.
Gotta upgrade that insurance there." I thought he went through this whole thing to upgrade the insurance with the power plant.
That was just dental they got there. He forgot to bargain for thumb insurance.
Lisa needs braces. But Hibbert explains that a thumb is not a finger. So even though Homer has finger insurance, it doesn't work. Hibbert offers to cut off the other thumb for a sense of symmetry, which Homer actually considers.
Symmetry, eh?
Before Marge is like, Hibbert's losing it. We're going to go see Dr. Nick.
That makes sense. Totally fine.
They decide, and here's the thing. I don't think that there's any way that Homer would talk Marge into actually stopping at Moe's. Oh, I guess it was for some more ice was the way they got around it. But I still think Marge would be like, I've got a Ferrari. We're driving straight to the hospital.
Also, there's a goddamn like Quickie Mart on the next block. We'll stop at
ice
McDonald's
is ridiculously high price at the Quickie Mart.
I think we can worry about that later. You walk in
all
with the
thumb, the ice has been taken out.
I don't know if you know this, Richie, but this is true. If you're holding a severed finger, Andy, all the ice in the world is free. You just walk in and take it, and you show them the fucking finger, and nobody's gonna say shit. They'll just seriously. There's not
luckily for Homer,
no need for ink or receipt. We just go directly to you have the ice.
Luckily for Homer, that's the same policy for the pickled egg jar at Moe's. He just
no, not the egg. I so never wanted to see that egg jar again. If you want to be honest about it, that was a callback I did not need in my life. Was that fucking egg jar?
But while Homer's putting his thumb away, Moe asks, "Hey, Homer, you have time for a beer?"
Well, I really shouldn't. What with my massive blood loss and all. Although I do like the occasional beer.
And then several occasions later.
Do you see the Blue Man Group? Total ripoff of the Smurfs. And those Smurfs, they suck.
So, interesting note from this scene. The animation got sent back because the thumb was drawn in a way that it didn't have a very prominent thumbnail, and it totally looked like a dick. So they had to go back and put a thumbnail on it to make sure that it did not look too penile, we'll say, for the censors. Thought that was pretty funny. And I do like that later when we see from Lisa's perspective, they do the whole Marge is he's on to Blue Man again. We've got plenty of time. That's a good joke as well.
It is funny because you think you've never seen The Simpsons with actual thumbnails before, so you just draw a little bump, and that would be the.
That's all you need. Just the tip,
every
right?
Every time you see the fucking bone in Homer's fucking hand, I was like, that gets me. Maybe I'm just over here. Maybe it's that time my dad actually ripped his fucking finger off in a bicycle accident. But I don't know. That's how I know about the ice trick, by the way. Real world experience. All the ice in the world is free when you're holding a finger.
Andy's coming with the personal stories today.
I mean,
yeah.
Wait.
12 times going to open up.
Was it a bike trip or was it a bike trip? Was it a Tulsa bike trip? Or was it
it was Tulsa biking, not regular biking.
Our apologies to the people in Tulsa listening.
And and our listeners who have no reference to that
our
conversation
listeners
we had
who
earlier.
That joke earlier.
Oh, good.
All the bikers in Tulsa wear spandex. That's what Miles is saying.
Yeah, for sure. Homer does end up hitchhiking for what it's worth. He catches a ride with Cletus, who explains that they are, in fact, kindred spirits, we'll say, because if anyone ever tells you a hog won't eat a finger, they's lying.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I think they'll eat your whole body.
Cletus actually gets Homer to Dr. Nick's clinic, but the bad luck streak continues because Dr. Nick's is on fire, and we see him being
why?
Inflammable means flammable? What a country.
It's got a damn good point. That's the second good point from a side boy. I also think that Homer's right, that the Blue Man Group is just ripping off the Smurfs. It's the same joke. But yeah, why the fuck does inflammable exist? As an English person, I'm going to throw my weight fully behind. We delete that word. Stupid word.
I won't lie. When I was a kid,
when
I first saw the scene, I was like, they're making a joke. Is inflammable actually? And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm all confused now.
Yeah, no, probably The Simpsons is a good educator here. That's like a fucking serial. Several people looked at it and were like, no shit.
It's a deal they got
murder my ass.
They got subsidized by the government to help kids understand that those are dangerous.
Would you not watch safety videos that were released by The Simpsons? I think that would be very fun to do.
Yeah, dude, I watched a safety video for a train system in a city I have never been in because it was hosted by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So yeah, I would absolutely watch that.
It did its job. Brought in outside interest.
Right? So I will say this about this episode too. This next part didn't really make a ton of sense to me because Homer basically gets Cletus to agree to drive him to Shelbyville, but then essentially is just gives up. He's like, oh, I'm done. And he just decides he's going to throw his thumb away. It's If I were already on the way to the hospital, even if it was 20 miles away, I'd still probably go to the hospital and let them make the call.
But Cletus's truck gets taken, so like he's having to walk 20 miles.
Cletus's truck gets stolen.
He could have he still could have got there. He didn't like
he can't hitchhike.
The idea of him throwing away the thumb to me, this is just insane. Like
it was all shriveled up and it looked like it was dead already. Like it's.
I mean,
it was cold. It was cold out, Richie. Easy.
That thumb was gone the second you put it in that fucking egg jar. Like, I mean,
honestly, that thumb was gone the second you put it in that ice, because you should ice a severed like finger if you cut one off, but you need to wrap it with like a paper towel first, because the direct contact with ice actually kills your cells. So that thumb was gone early.
You want to rest it on top of the ice. You don't want it submerged. And
but unlike you nerds, I just assumed
you're not unbreakable like Homer.
Don't do that.
Unlike you nerds, I just assumed a wizard did it. All right.
And I guess this does kill our Homer's unbreakable theory, but I guess he wasn't broken; he was just severed.
Everything but the thumbs.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's his weak point.
In fairness, they did like sew it back on in like a classroom with like a needle and thread, and then he immediately started wiggling it. So
spoiler alert for the end of the episode.
It's kind of like Deadpool.
Yeah, did you think they were going to leave his thumb in a pile, bro? Anyways.
So you guys telling me a good job from then on.
As Homer is telling his thumb that is still attached to say goodbye to your brother, we hear a big explosion in the distance, and then the head of Linguo lands directly next to Homer, and Homer recognizes Linguo dead?
Linguo is dead.
And Homer actually does the thing where he like closes Linguo's eyes like you would a deceased person. Touch. Yeah, and that is the end of Act 1 at 6 minutes and 38 time. That's how long it ran in the episode. We have now been talking for about 45 minutes. But this episode is a weird structure, so I do feel like we're going to really kind of burn through the next two acts, as we are literally going to tell the same story again from two different perspectives, or two additional perspectives, if that wasn't clear for all of our nonsense talk early in this episode.
The next act is going to take place in West Springfield.
And we still do have some stuff to talk about in West Springfield for sure. But Lisa's day starts basically with her doing Tai Chi. We get all of the same beats. We get the breakfast. We get the funny moment with Homer. We get Maggie. We get Milhouse showing up. We get all of that. This time, though, when Lisa goes outside, she has missed the bus. And it is noteworthy, if we haven't said, Linguo is her science project for it's a competition.
Science fair day. Or
Science fair. Thank you. Yeah. So she misses the bus and then goes around to get her bike, which is missing, which we'll learn about later. She ends up having to get her mom to take her to school, or tries to get her mom to take her to school, but she's, as we know, busy taking Homer to the hospital. I don't remember how she actually gets to school. I'm not gonna lie.
So then she decides that she's gonna fucking rip off a German experimental film from the early '90s called "Run Lola Run," right down to the soundtrack.
There you go.
Yeah, and we get Lisa running, which is really adorable and cute and short-legged in a lot of ways.
We also get that funny part with her and Linguo where he corrects her about how she says lie still. And she says, "I knew that, just testing." And he says, "Sentence fragment." And she goes, "Sentence fragment is also a sentence fragment."
Must conserve battery power. Yeah, you're right. So this is where we get, she's running to school. She almost gets hit by Krusty, who like leans out and yells at his chauffeur.
"You almost ran over a viewer, and she's in our key demo. Sorry about that, kid. Need a ride?"
She ends up getting a ride with Krusty.
And you don't see any of their conversation.
And you don't say, I won't set up Richie for that voice. Instead, we see him drive by Chief Wiggum, who is like, "Hey, Teeny, you know where 123 Fake Street is?" Subtitled says, "I do not know what you guys are saying." That was great.
That's your best Simpsons impersonation of all time.
Yeah, that's really good, dude.
That is the best and most depressing thing you've ever said to
me. Lisa shows up at what we think is her school. She runs into what we think is going to be Miss Hoover's class, and instead she runs into a French teacher speaking French that I'm not going to attempt right now, but Lisa's like, "What's happening? Where am I?"
You speak of.
What's the thing they say in French? I remember it was something about eating something.
Sacre bleu! What a foolish question. You are at West Springfield Elementary School.
West Springfield? I'm at the wrong school. The class starts laughing, and then the teacher is like corrects them. And Francois.
En français. Oh! That's the best joke in the
That's
episode.
A good joke.
That's priceless.
There's another great joke in the background in this scene that I really enjoyed. There's the food pyramid poster, and the food pyramid in French is French toast, French fries, and a baguette.
That all checks out.
That's solid. That's solid.
With a big just sea of wine at the bottom. Yeah.
Lisa's upset, but she goes out into the hallway there where we meet a character that I just learned is named Thelonius. I missed that in the thing somehow because he says it here in the next line. But this is actually a character that it's very short-lived because he's only in here for literally maybe a minute and a half while they frolic with Lisa. But this is a character voiced by Frankie Muniz, and it was just kind of an act of synergy, I would say, because at this time, Malcolm in the Middle was very popular and running right next to The Simpsons. So they thought they would do a little crossover type thing. Yeah. Yeah, that was a great hour of television in 2001, honestly.
And I don't think I've seen a Malcolm in the Middle episode since 2001.
This episode is already gonna go long, but I don't care. I'm gonna share this because I love this story. I was listening to another podcast and they were interviewing Frankie Muniz and they asked him about his relationship. Oh my God, Walter White. What's the
Bryan Cranston name?
Bryan Cranston, thank you. Lovely human being. Because this I just thought was so sweet. Frankie Muniz has retired from acting, so he doesn't do that anymore. But they had a bond, they had bonded with Bryan Cranston while they worked on Malcolm in the Middle. And he had just nothing but kind things to say about him working with him. He would always check in on them and make sure that they were happy and healthy as kids and making sure they weren't too stressed out and all that good stuff you'd think. But as of this podcast recording that I heard, which was in the last year or so, Frankie Muniz said that Bryan Cranston calls him at least once every 2 weeks just to check in and make sure he's doing all right. And it's there's no professional, it's not he's not an actor anymore. So it's not it's a networking thing. He's just legitimately a good dude that cares about the kid that he pretended to be his dad for 8 years. Kind of really sweet. Cool. Yeah. There's a little fun fact for you guys about another show.
Cut his family member's thumb off, until Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very,
I always
very
to
true,
think
actually.
about how much I loved that guy before, he became, Breaking Bad, which is the character's name. Don't anyone ever try and
he became Breaking Bad.
So back to Lisa and Thelonius, who are literally spinning in circles. And I do love at one point they just cut in and it's a three-way happening with Linguo. But at one point Lisa's like, oh my God, it's 11:15. We've been spinning for hours. I've got to get to my school and hand in Linguo, but I don't want to leave you.
You can't sacrifice grades for romance. That's not the girl I blacked out on the script because the cursor was right there. The girl I fell for.
Will I ever see you again?
Of course you will. At the Magnet High School. Now go!
All right, this is a very short cameo, but it's fun. I liked it. I don't have any problem with it.
I enjoy Frankie Muniz all the time. I love two out of the three Thelonious jokes. I think that it's just why is this what happens? Why is this the best you could come up with? Is that in the middle of the day she goes off and has a brief love experience with some random it's just you couldn't think of anything that was going to have anything to do with the rest of the plot or be relevant. We already had to skip over the part where Lisa coincidentally hears Chief Wiggum for some reason at the bar just leading some informants into a terrible situation, and then turning on the reverse way of their microphone and being like, "Hey, is that you, Fat Tony?" Like we already had to skip over that because it's so incidental, though crucial to like what happens in Act 3. I don't know. It's like it's fine. It's just why is this the best you came up with? How in the writer's room did you not come up with the next best idea?
It did feel very forced. It felt like they just couldn't figure out something better to do with him, like you said. They could have made him like the garbage man stealing Ned's mailbox. They could have done all kinds of stuff and made him say like a different line each time, just so you're like, wait, is it the same? Just to like mess with your heads a little bit. But like they could have done all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's. I mean, he's known for Malcolm in the Middle, so I get it that he's going to be a kid. And he's not in Springfield Elementary that we know, because then they don't have to explain why he's never there again, even though they tend to do that with a few of the girls Lisa's interacted with over the years. But yeah, it definitely felt forced.
And I mean, I don't know, like maybe like I feel like there was a missing joke from one of the source materials. Like what happens in Go that could have happened here? That's my question.
I don't even think it's that. I'm starting to think more just based on what they said on the commentary and honestly what you guys just pointed out. Like, yeah, I'm thinking that this is a situation where they're like, hey, we need you all to do this thing with Frankie Muniz. So just prop him in somewhere. And they probably ended up scrapping the short bus thing that they were going to go with just to ride around this. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like a missed opportunity for sure. Because Frankie Muniz is at the time even was a pretty talented, talented actor and very popular.
Yeah. Oh man, just think on what we would have missed out on had they done on like the comedy gold that was in that short bus routine that we did not get.
Here's a question: is Ralph on the bus that day or not?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You're sweet, Ralph.
All right, so
I was gonna bring him up when Andy's here.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah. It ends up we have Lisa asking Chief Wiggum if she can get a ride to school. Yeah, she ends up running. This is what we talked about earlier, where she like impossibly runs the Moe's, or the geography of Springfield is very weird, or Homer drinks at a weird bar, or maybe Moe's is just the only bar in town. It just happens to be far from Homer's house. These are all.
Like, it's like the Simpsons are getting bussed across town because redlining.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's what I've done. This is evidence of the like systemic like racism inherent in Springfield. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. This is where we see the thing that Andy was talking about with Wiggum explaining that they can't help Lisa out right now because they have an informant wearing a wire, just like on Nash Bridges, trying to get the goods on some smugglers.
Why, I'd be delighted to sell you some illegally smuggled goods.
That sounds like Fat Tony. This is where Fat Tony actually hears this come across on the radio.
Because Wiggum talks into the mic. Why aren't you just using a receiver, not a microphone?
Right. Yeah. There's so much wrong with all of this, of course. And Wiggum just shakes it off. Is like, well, my bad. I can't work my answering machine either. Now I need a new informant. Say, Lisa, people trust you. You like to be a snitch? I mean, the pay stinks. And Lisa's already gone.
Well, at this point, we've already heard the other end where the mobsters figure out that they're informants. Is this guy's wearing a wire? Take him out. And then you hear what sounds like gunshots.
It's yeah. Which we'll clear up here in a little bit. This is where you get the call back later to Marge is overhearing Homer go in his rant about the Blue Man Group, which means that she has at least enough time to get Lisa.
This is when Lisa goes out the back of the bar again. Which I don't know why she wouldn't go out the front door. The back is sticky and gross and a longer walk. Wiggum's back at the back booth, so the back door would be closer to her, but the whole trip walking around the building would be longer, I would think. So it matches up because Homer is currently coming through the front door and they can't see each other.
Yeah, they just miss each other. And I will say that is definitely a plot point of Go, because like it's basically like somebody buys drugs with the intent of flipping them at a rave. And then a bunch of shit goes wrong and they're like got drug dealers after them. And it's, a wild movie, but, there's a lot of that like concept of people just missing each other that would have like fixed the whole night type of thing.
Oh, and Go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry. In the source material. Yeah. Homer is that we cut back to Homer, who is performing the, best version of that removing your thumb, magic trick that you've ever seen. Abracathumbra. And we get a very dated line. We've already said it here, but basically Cletus, who admittedly is a redneck idiot. But it is 2001, and he says, "Dang, you could be one of them TV magic queers,"
which Andy seemed to very much enjoy earlier.
I mean, like, it's just so, like, extreme, and it's
so
like
casually said too.
Like,
honestly. It feels
like
weird.
you know, like, I feel like it's often my job on this show, whether it is or isn't, to like point out, you know, that's a little bit racist. That's a little fucked up. And then this is so out there that I'm just like kind of in love with it. If you want to be honest.
It's so over the top that you're okay with it.
I'm really thinking about getting a tattoo that says TV Magic Queer. If you want to be honest, like I think that's
you should put it on your thumb, dude.
I think that's my official gender
I think we should put it on his tombstone.
If anyone's asking, it's like, you know, what are your pronouns? TV Magic Queer. Like, I just.
Yeah. And we respect those on this show. So
we glossed over the part where Lisa runs over the front of the bar and sees Marge, and Marge is like, Homer will be a while, let's go. And then the Ferrari runs out of gas, and they see Cletus's truck, who they don't know is driving, and then Homer's in there, and they hop in the back.
They jump in the back. So literally everybody's in the same place right now for a minute at least. Yeah, except for Lisa, or except for Bart.
Mm-hmm.
So they're heading
to cave.
Yeah, they're still. Well, we don't really know where they are yet. Or no, this is right when we see them, isn't it? Yeah, because we see. Well, as they're driving along, Marge ends up stealing another car. That's what it is, because she ends up hitting Bart in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Bart comes out through the manhole cover, and they even made fun of it on the commentary, because if you get hit in the head with a car, that's exactly what happens. There's just a little clink, and you're fine.
Well, to be fair, Bart's been hit by a car before, so he's used to it.
Yeah, he knows how to take a punch. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we end on Bart's, getting hit by the car.
We don't see Bart get hit. It cuts right before he's going to get hit.
Fair. And we come back around. Actually, so that's Act 2 at 13 minutes and 54 seconds. Just for fun, this podcast is now just over an hour.
See, that's weird, because I feel like Homer's story is the longest one at the beginning.
It might be, because it shows the most new information.
Yeah, and then everything else feels like it's rushed compared to his, but minute-wise, it's not. So, good job.
Yeah, it's pretty even in the time balance or whatever. Yeah,
the time balance. You must maintain the time balance, Dr.
That does sound like the plot to a bad sci-fi movie for sure. Yeah. All right, so we start our third act with Bart's story. He wakes up to his crust. Well, we see the garbage truck again, son of a diddly. This time we see Bart waking up to his Krusty the Clown alarm clock that when you snooze it, it says, feeling lazy, eh? Which I enjoyed that a lot.
I need that alarm clock.
That's the perfect alarm
hit the
clock.
Snooze button, it comes out and beats your ass. Like, that seems appropriate. Just saying. There's a market for that.
Mm-hmm.
We cut to the part where Milhouse shows up at the door like he has twice before already in this episode, and he explains to Bart that he's got something cooler than 1 million dead bodies to show him. So they run to the backyard where Bart has a ring of keys for basically everything that his family owns, including his sister's bike. And
also Milhouse's house and Flanders' house.
All of his neighbors. Yeah, he seems
I love how he absolutely eye fucks Milhouse when he says, key to your house. He's just like dead staring at him like, yes, I do go into your house and I have touched your stuff.
Fair. They end up going to a cave in the woods where Milhouse explains, this is where I come to cry.
Cool.
They go inside and they find a bunch of sacks. burlap sacks. And they're full of fireworks, which is the part that he should have been excited about. It's kind of like when people laugh at your setup and not your punchline. Super cool. Bottle rockets, frog launchers, wheezing mamas, and even a Tijuana toilet cracker.
Oh, man. That's going to be
That is Miles' wrestling name.
Yeah, Lucha, baby.
It does sound like a really good power bomb type move there.
Yeah, actually, it's
my god, he's going for the Tijuana toilet cracker.
And especially if that person pretty much was known for their anywhere, all falls count anywhere type of thing, and they always ended up power bombing somebody through a toilet to finish. That's, you could tell a lot of good stories with that. that character.
He counters with a seat-covered lid.
At one point, it's like, okay, we got you. We know how to stop you. You have to stay inside the ring. We're doing, if you leave the ring, you're disqualified. But then, like, his manager ends up showing up at the end with, like, a porta potty that they drop down into the thing, and he's able to fucking hit it for the victory. Book that now, AEW.
It'd be more entertaining than what the WWE's doing.
Easily.
And I haven't watched anything since.
I just thought that was your wrestling name. It was like, who's that in the corner? The Tijuana toilet cracker.
They both win.
Because you're whites. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the joke.
Yeah.
All right.
They two 10-year-olds do what any two 10-year-olds would do with a bag full of fireworks. They start blowing shit up, including garden gnomes, which I noticed one looked a lot like Homer, more so than any of the others. I thought that was kind of interesting. We also see the Simpsons do a Jackass-style stunt where they put rocket launchers on the bike wheel and attempt to ride it. I actually was going to say Simpsons did it, but Jackass came out in 2000, and this was 2001, so I don't know if that's fair.
When was this animated?
Honestly, I have no idea, but I would say that at best case, it's lateral thinking or whatever, but or worst case, lateral thinking. But either way, the idea of strapping rockets to your bicycle is nothing new. I'm pretty sure kids, since bottle rockets and bicycles existed, thought that might work. It doesn't, because just what ends up is they just send a fiery will of doom sending through their neighborhood.
And into Dr. Nick's clinic.
Where we're seeing Captain McAllister is about to undergo some surgery. So what are we doing? A lengthening or a widening?
Yar, let's make it both.
The flaming wheel goes in and goes right next to that canister labeled inflammable, which makes
Yar!
Nick, don't worry, it's inflammable.
It's also full of ether. I just want to point out that's a lot of ether. Okay.
That's a lot of ether. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what keeps Dr. Nick, baby.
Yeah.
Dr. Nick's office is on fire, and he's like, let's just keep this our little secret.
That's what
Bart
I do with fires.
I just don't tell anybody.
Yeah, just keep it to myself. It's fine.
So Bart and Milhouse hear sirens coming, which we know are for the fire next door, but Bart and Milhouse assume it's for them, so they try to duck into an abandoned building that just so happens to have the address 123 Fake Street, which is the fake address that was given by Marge to Chief Wiggum earlier, and he's out there looking for the home of the knifey wifey. Another just brilliant little moment that is like just so silly, but just made me laugh so hard. Lou is like, "Hey, Chief, can I hold my gun sideways? It just looks so cool."
Sure. Anything for you, birthday boy. I don't know why when I was a kid, that moment always stuck with me. I thought it was so stupid that it was funny, and I always enjoyed that moment, and I still do to this day.
I like the
cool. He's not wrong.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Like even animated, I was like, yeah, he looks badass.
Wiggum bust in, and I do love this line here. All right, drop the knife, Stabitha. Great, Gucci's ghost. We've uncovered a hardcore cracker house. I love the idea
Chinese
of that.
sky candy here to put you boys away for a long time.
Chinese sky candy. That's the name
That's
of
a
my
great
punk
line.
band.
Yeah.
There you go.
Millhouse is scared. I can't go to juvie. They use guys like me as currency.
Yeah. They'll pass you around like currency, like you said.
But Wiggum comes up with a deal he can offer the boys, and this is where we learn that they are, in fact, the informants that are on the other end of that radio that we saw from earlier. I love that it's so old school. They just tape like a walkie-talkie to his chest, and you can absolutely see it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the tape is labeled Hootie and the Blowfish.
It's cheaper than blank tapes.
There you go.
Was Hootie and the Blowfish even remotely relevant in 2001? Like that joke feels dated even from when it was written.
Well, it's because Wiggum's old and has old tapes.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I think that was the point, was how washed up they were. I think it's hilarious that actually Darius Rucker, the lead singer from Hootie and the Blowfish, has like reinvented himself as a country singer and
That's wild.
is like medium to medium popular, like sells records for sure.
Much like Hootie and the Blowfish, he is medium popular.
Yeah.
I Only Want to Be With You is a banger for what it's worth, though.
Yeah, especially in that one Friends episode that they're famous for.
I only want to be with you. I can't sing anymore. We'll get a copyright strike because I'm that good at it.
No, I don't think we have to worry about that getting copyrighted, but
Yeah, I don't think the algorithm's going to catch that one. We get basically Bart and Milhouse show up to Fat Tony's where they very blatantly are like, we were interested in purchasing quality fireworks. And Tony's like,
yes, we are. And Milhouse is leaning into Bart's shirt.
Yeah, yeah. Why, I'd be delighted to sell you some illegally smuggled goods.
So I have a question here. They're definitely back in the cave with the big burlap sacks full of fireworks, right?
That's what it seems.
Is there some other unknown interest? Why is a legitimate criminal organization using like a cave you have to crawl to get into as their primary like repository for these like goods? I'm just saying.
Maybe all the malk is stored up in their actual base of operations, so they needed a little side hustle spot here.
In fairness, it is an established fact that Fat Tony has a real problem with warehousing. Like, we already had to store those cigarettes with Bart, so I guess this checks out on that level.
There you go.
Objection withdrawn.
We get a fun chase. This is where everything goes to hell, and we see that, we hear Wiggum say, Fat Tony, is that you? And then what ends up happening is the fireworks get caught. They ignite. They start blowing up.
Bart ignites the fireworks in the confusion, and that makes the sound of the gunshots that we thought we heard earlier.
But everybody is fine for the moment. They actually have a pretty cool chase just because it's funny to see the mobsters using like sparklers to like light the way as they run through this cave.
I love all the fireworks stuff. All of it.
Yeah. Bart sees an escape. There's a manhole above. This is where we cut back to the end of Act 2 because Bart barely pokes his head out, and Marge has to slam on the brakes in order not to hit Bart in the head.
You don't even see him. Lisa's the one that's like, stop.
It does come in contact with him.
Marge is doing that weird thing where she's not looking in front of her while driving.
Yeah, that's very.
I
weird.
recommend doing the opposite of that. That's my theory to you. Advice from Andy.
Bart and Milhouse continue to run away. They use some crates to hop over a fence. They're still being chased by Fat Tony, but Fat Tony has the wherewithal to kick down the crate so no one else can follow him into the alley. Marge runs up to the fence and tries to yell out, but she ends up, I think she throws Linguo at the gangsters as like a weapon.
Yeah, Lisa has Linguo in her backpack, so Marge takes it out. Yeah. She's throwing anything she can.
Louis, hey, they're throwing robots.
He's throwing robots.
They are throwing robots.
He's disrespecting us. Shut up in your face.
Shut up your face.
What's the matter, you?
You ain't so
big. Me and him are going to whack you in the Labanza.
Bad grammar, overload, error. So he ends up blowing up, right? Isn't this where he gets hit by like his head? This is the explosion point where his head ends up flying all the way across town.
He starts fusing out, which sets off the bag of fireworks.
Yeah, there you go.
Fireworks blow him sky high.
His head lands over by Homer, who's in the middle of throwing away his thumb. We cut back, and there is a big scorch ground on the ground where all these fireworks have gone off. And Marge is looking around and ends up lifting the lid on Bart and Milhouse, who are hiding in a trash can.
And the mobsters are out cold from the explosion.
Yeah.
And Wiggum's there.
Homer is just like, oh, thank goodness everyone's okay, which almost feels a little bit weird, but it's to set up Marge with like the one joke she gets this episode.
Except your thumb. At least a science project.
Tony is now being handcuffed by Wiggum, and he points out that, there might be a bipartite solution to all this. We cut to Lisa's science fair, where it's now changed from the Linguo robot to severed digit reattachment, and legs is apparently the mob surgeon, because he is very successfully sewing Homer's thumb back on, and it instantly goes from like dead fish belly white to Simpsons yellow as soon as it's reconnected.
And as the circulation returns, the subject prepares for a long and painful recovery.
Hooray!
It's lucky for us that Legs is an experienced mob doctor.
He once pulled a slug out of my arm and inserted it into a stoolie's brain.
That's a first place science project, Lisa, even though we haven't looked at the rest of the freaking school yet. Haven't even seen Martin's project and how it works without a freaking power source. Or what its power source is.
He invented a battery-less electricity, which is pretty impressive.
He invented magic, which Maggie is a time traveler and goes back to when she was even an earlier 1-year-old and starts using it, even though the Simpsons timeline isn't. It's more, circular than straight-lined, I guess.
They're in a Jeremy Barrity. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, Jeremy Barrity. Why didn't I see that? Fantastic.
This is all very quickly resolved by Marge looking into the camera and basically being like, boy, this sure was one crazy day. Right, Mr. Teeny? And then Teeny pops up on the screen. And the subtitle said, this plot made no sense. Tell the people. And that brings us to the end of our third act and to the end of the episode Trilogy of Error. Before I throw it over to you guys real quick, I will say that they wrote that ending, but then on rewatching during the commentary, they all argued that ending actually made pretty good sense for the episode. They preemptively wrote that because they assumed that people are going to tear it apart online. And then, as we talked about earlier, it ended up being one of the more highly reviewed episodes of the show and remained that way for some time. But that's it for Trilogy of Error. Andy, do you have any other thoughts on this episode or in general for this podcast today?
One, always glad to be here.
Of course, dude.
It's such fun, honestly. Like, we've made it through all the fun parts of The Simpsons, and we're entering the shadow zone, and I'm just I'm here for it. If you want to be honest,
hell yeah.
It continues to be a fun and enjoyable journey. As far as this episode, yeah, I mean, I feel like this just needed a couple more drafts before they send it over to animate. If you want to be honest, that's my humble opinion on it. I feel like this structure could work. There's just so much of it that's just not as tight as it needs to be, over and all, and it just feels, lazy. I don't know. That's the wrong word for it. But it just feels like they didn't.
They put a lot of effort into it, so it wasn't lazy. But
yeah, that's not what I mean. It's just,
Maybe it fell short of that bar, though. Yeah,
it's just loose in every moment. You know what I mean? I just feel, meh.
Meh is actually a pretty good Simpsons review, if you're being honest.
Meh, yeah, it's pretty there. Still some really hot jokes in there. I want to, still some stuff that amused the shit out of me. And, that's what I got.
Oh, yeah, dude. Richie, what about you? Is there anything else that you want to point out or any other topics you want to talk about on this week's episode?
I feel like it's just good enough. It's not, I probably won't even have it in my top 5 of the season. Although I'm struggling to remember. It's been so long since we started the season. I'm starting to misremember some things from earlier on at this point. But I feel like it was just good enough. There are some really, really good jokes in it. Some excellent jokes in it. I just feel like it's something lacking. But from an artistic standpoint, I'm glad they tried to do something different. And now that you see it was out of their comfort zone, I applaud them for at least taking a stab at something, not knowing if it was going to work out in the end. Because again, as an episode, it's still as a TV sitcom cartoon episode, it still works and it's still better than a lot of the stuff that's out around this time. And maybe even with today's standards, it's still better than a lot of that stuff too. So, I mean, it's just, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Right on, man. I still stand by the fact that I still overall enjoyed this episode, but I definitely do agree that just based on the valley thing that you mentioned earlier, Andy, that was a very good analogy for sure. I think it's a good visual. I don't know that we're going to valley just yet, but I do think that we are entering an era of The Simpsons where there's going to be maybe there'll be some new launches, but there's also going to be some spots that are just a little bit meh, as Andy so graciously said earlier. All I want to say, dude, is Andy, thank you again so much for coming on this show and tolerating our nonsense and our bullshit. You're right. I don't think anybody really thought we'd be doing this 12 seasons later, but we are, and we haven't quit yet. And
congratulations again.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say first, as long as we keep going, we want to always keep the streak alive as long as possible. If you quit popping out kids when we're scheduled to recording, but
don't worry, that was a
technically your
thing.
wife
You.
did that part. But
we're turning in body parts as soon as they'll let us. We're done with that shit. Holy crap.
Hell yeah! Well, hey, seriously though, congratulations! You're a dad. That's much. Awesome. Yeah, very, very cool, man.
You guys stick at this. Here in several years, I'll bring her on, and she can be a guest on this show. And when we're doing awesome. Season 30 or whatever.
That's amazing. That's amazing to think that's actually theoretically possible.
Yeah.
No, I mean The Simpsons is going nowhere. So. No.
Even when the last time we had a writer on it, we had Al Jean on not too long ago, and he even agreed that he thinks The Simpsons will be going even after everybody that currently works for it is dead, just because at this point it's an entity.
It's about to happen, probably.
Well, I mean, it's like Mary Worth in the comics, right? Nobody knows why the hell that's still going on. It's still profitable. I think. Yeah.
It's like a situation like in Office Space where nobody told Milton he's fired, and they just keep doing it. Yeah. Sorry, Andy. Where can people buy your book one more time? What's it called? How can they support you online?
So, my book is called Down and Out by me. That's J. Andrew Briseño. You can buy it at goldwake.com or anywhere on the internet that you look for books. You can also follow me on Twitter at J. Andrew Briseño if you're into that whole thing. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, dude. Richie, what about us? Where can they support us online?
You can follow Miles at Mr. Most Days Off. You can follow myself at thewiz_kid23. You'll have a 50% success rate of responses on Twitter with both of us combined. But most importantly, you can follow our show at Best Darn Diddly. That is DIDDLY.
Guys, we've got, I'm going to say it, a very special episode coming up next week. We are going to be recording our 300th one of these. Yeah, that's a thing. And we've got something pretty cool lined up. I'm excited about it. We're bringing in an old friend from Richie and Mai's past. We've got something pretty cool to talk about next week. So tune in. And of course, once again, thank you to everybody who's listened to any or all of any of our 300 podcasts at this point. We really do appreciate you.
And we hope you keep coming back to eat this crap next week.
Until next time.